The first Assassin's Creed was a good game, but not one without its flaws. Altair's climbing speed was rather slow and somewhat clunky, and the combat was rather monotonous. The game was also rather repetitive, with the quest design of investigation missions and then the assassination. If the game series had to go on, then something had to change. Some things needed to be improved upon. The first game ended on a cliffhanger, so a sequel was always going to happen, and Patrice Désilets did state that he planned the series to be a trilogy. However, we can see now that Ubisoft ended up having other plans for the series. The premise of Assassin's Creed also allowed for a fresh start where we can go experience a different time periods. Altair's story took place in the Holy Land during the Third Crusades, so where else would our journey take us now? Promotional images leading up to Assassin's Creed 2 showed us our next setting, Renaissance Italy, and we were even going to get a new assassin, Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Ezio has received in total 3 mainline games, and that is more than any other assassin in the series. Now, I could break this video up, however, I've decided to just give you one long video where we'll be looking at every game in Ezio's story from Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed Revelations. I've timestamped each of the games so you can skip ahead to each section and watch whichever one you'd want. But let's get into it. Let's start talking about Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 starts immediately after the ending to the first game with Desmond Miles. He gives us a recap of what happened previously, where he's been taken by Abstergo Industries, a Templar organization, and he's forced to relive the memories of his ancestor Altair ibn La'ahad. Through his memories, he found the object they're looking for, the Apple of Eden, which leads to multiple pieces of Eden, which are these mystical pieces of technology, which I just think is really just magic at this point. Lucy returns, an ally as hinted previously, and she breaks us out of our room and grabs some more memories for later. Lucy smuggles us out of Abstergo and takes us to a hideout where we meet with 2 other assassins, Rebecca Crane and Sean Hastings.
Hello, Desmond. Go away.
The whole point this time is to have Desmond gain assassin skills through the bleeding effects. At the end of the last game, Desmond gained this vision called Eagle Vision, which he got from Altair. Some of Altair's skills are bleeding into Desmond, and so they're going to use another assassin to train him from the ground up in a short amount of time. We don't get as many chances this game to walk around as Desmond, so take in the modern day as much as you can, because we're going to Italy, baby! The game takes us to Florence in 1476, where we're introduced to a 17-year-old Ezio. He's shown to be rather charismatic, a leader, and also a charmer. We get involved into combat rather quickly as we take part in a street fight, and the combat is still pretty much the same, but we're given an enemy health bar, so really we could only keep moving up from here. After knocking people about, we get introduced to our brother Federico, who joins in and helps us. Ezio gets hit on the lip, and we're introduced to 2 new features, stealing and merchants. Unlike in the previous game, we don't regenerate health, so instead we have to get medicine or get healed from the doctor directly. We don't have any money, so we pick up a few coins here and there from the people we just beat up, and we pay for our medical bills. And along the way, we get shown the parkour movement. This is probably one of the better openings in the series, not just for how it eases you into the gameplay, but also how it sets up this cutscene and introduces us to our new protagonist and his home. I do like how the tutorial isn't given to us all at once and allows itself to work seamlessly into these missions. That's the other thing. Gone is the formula of investigation missions and assassinations. Now everything fits together into one big story, and each time we go through a mission, we get given a new feature or mechanic. Here are a few examples. After our night of racing against Federico and our teenage romance B-plot, we get to meet our family and we have a job to do with all of them. Our father introduces us to courier missions where we have to deliver messages across the area using our parkour. Our sister gives us missions where we beat up adulterous men in the city. Our mother introduces us to
Da Vinci?
And we also get shown that there are escort missions where someone will either move faster or slower than us. Great. And our younger brother shows us...
I want those feathers.
What for?
It's a secret.
If I get them for you, will you go back inside?
Yes, I promise.
God, fuck! 100 feathers? Are you insane? We come back to our dad and we meet with Uberto before we get sent out on another errand. And when we return, we come back to a traumatized mother. Turns out our dad and our brothers were taken by guards when the estate was raided, and we don't know why. Because we are Assassin's Creed, we can simply climb to the tower they're locked up in and talk with them. Turns out that our family is being accused of treason, and to free them we would have to grab everything we can from our father's secret stash and hand documents over to Uberto. If you're like me, you're probably never seen Assassin's Creed Lineage before, which Ubisoft released prior to this game to set the events in motion. So you'd be wondering, whoa, is our dad an assassin? Turns out, yeah, he is. And Uberto was also a person who was introduced in Lineage. After finding our dad's Halloween costume and grabbing the broken hidden blade, which is also explained why it's broken in Lineage, we rush over to Uberto to hand over the documents to absolve our family. I'm sure that guy in the back isn't that important. The next day, we see that our efforts are in vain and our family is being executed, and Ubisoft just showed us a child being executed as well. So that's cool, I guess. We object, but we have to run for now, because while we can't throw a punch, we never actually killed anyone. We can't really swing a sword. I mean, well, we can, but yeah, what are you gonna do? We run and are told our mother and sister are sheltered in a brothel for protection. Well, we don't find out it's a brothel until later, but The next few missions teach Ezio how to blend in and hide from the guards, and we're also taught the notoriety system. Most of the time, you'd be anonymous and can walk around freely, but if the guards take note of what you're doing, then they would attack you on sight. You can control your level of notoriety by bribing heralds, ripping off wanted posters off of the walls where people won't even see them in the first place, and assassinating paid Templar witnesses. Another good improvement, because if I accidentally bump into somebody, then the guards won't suddenly get pissed off. Just, ignore this part. We learn how to blend into the crowds to give us more hiding spaces, and we can also hire courtesans to walk around with us, acting as a movable hiding spot. We can also have them distract the guards for us. Later on in the game, we could also hire thieves who would perform the same role, but have the guards run away from their location, and we can also hire mercenaries who can be paid to fight alongside us. Da Vinci is important to us. We have a broken hidden blade, and we need to get that fixed. Da Vinci is an inventor, and we have the codex page that shows the instructions on how to repair the hidden blades. So we go and meet Da Vinci and hand him the schematics to fix the hidden blades. Those eagle-eyed viewers would probably have noticed that Altair is missing his ring finger on the hand he has the hidden blade attached to. So, uh-oh, looks like someone needs their finger cut off. And it turns out that Leonardo
I was only having fun, Ezio.
is a prankster, a bit of a goofball, a Renaissance memer, if you will. The hidden blade has been modified to prevent the removal of the ring finger, which also brings up the question, what other things have the assassins developed and modified? For now, let's talk a bit about Leonardo. He is the best character in the game. He is a golden ray of light, and I love going to meet him every single time. Whenever the cutscene plays and Ezio walks in and goes, Leonardo, it just makes me melt. You come by with a codex page and he doesn't even ask questions. He just makes stuff for you. Hidden blade upgrades? Oh, you want another hidden blade? Yeah, sure, no problem. Oh, you want to inject poison? Hey, I'll tell you where you can get more poison. Good news, Ezio. I've made the hidden blade into a gun. You can now shoot people whenever you want. Just go nuts. Go commit a crime. Molto bene. Oh, Ezio, you've killed that guard? It's fine. Just throw him with the others. I'm going to be sad by the time all this is over and we don't get to see Leonardo anymore. With our hidden blade fixed and our new skills learned, we set off to go and assassinate Uberto to avenge our family and to have the satisfaction of sinking our blade into him. Our first assassination is rather straightforward, and we get to use our courtesans to distract guards and to help us hide in plain sight as we wait to strike. But now, we have a new problem. We just assassinated somebody in plain sight. We can't really stay in Florence anymore, so we have to leave and we have to find a place where we can stay low for a while as we think about our next move. Our uncle has an estate in Monteriggioni, so I guess that's our next stop really. We leave with our mother, our sister, and sure, let's bring about this group of courtesans with us just for the road. On our way there, we run into Vieri de Pazzi and we get into another fight. This time with the help of our uncle. I do appreciate the fact that if you attack an enemy from behind, you can instantly kill them. And what's even better is we get this animation where it looks like Ezio is a bit worried about what happens, like he's hesitant to stab people, like he's just closing his eyes and goes, "Oh, whatever happens, happens." Now, you might not have caught this, but there's a video game reference here.
Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
Let me play it again, but slower.
Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
Did you catch that? Mario is voiced by Akio Otsuka in the Japanese dub of the game. Akio is known for voicing Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid series, and voicing Mario is a subtle nod to another stealth game series in this stealth game. You know, that part sucks, I might just cut that out. After fighting off Vieri and his men, we are introduced to Monteriggioni proper, and it looks like shit. It's clearly seen better days, and Mario thinks we're here to join the assassins, but really, we're looking to go to Spain. We are given some training from Mario and are also told about our family's assassin heritage. Now, we don't really believe him, and we're still set to go to Spain, and after our last bit of training, Mario rides off to meet Vieri, frustrated that we are not joining him. Now, we're feeling kinda guilty about this, because honestly, the reason Vieri's harassing our uncle is mostly because of us. So we travel to San Gimignano, where we are given our targets. To sum up what I'm already summing up, we are shown other members of the Templars here, and whoa, look at that! Who would have guessed the same hooded guy from before? Who didn't see that one coming? After storming the place with our mercenaries, we make our way over to Vieri, where we have our fight with him, and we finally get to assassinate him.
What are you and your allies planning? Is this what my father discovered? Is this why he was killed?
I'm sorry. Were you hoping for a confession?
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avessi sofferto di più! Hai avuto la fine che meritavi! Spero che
Enough, Ezio! Show some respect.
After a bit of scolding from Uncle Mario, we tell him about what we saw, and he tells us about the Templars, and we set our new goal of assassinating them to avenge the death of our father and our brothers. After joining with Mario, we're shown the armor of Altair underneath the mansion, and we are also shown the codex pages that he and our father tried to collect. Now, this is a Ubisoft game, and you already know we have to collect like 100 feathers, but now we have to get every seal to unlock the armor of Altair, of which there are 6 in the game. We also have to collect all the codex pages as well. The mansion in Monteriggioni as a whole becomes our responsibility, and we would need to pay for the shops to be repaired, the places around town as well, and we even have to collect paintings and buy weapons and armor. Most of our income will be coming from the estate, and it really adds up, and whether because I benefited from it a lot, or whether it's some nostalgia hits that I had in the past, I decided to take it upon myself to gather everything in the villa. Which, yes, includes all the feathers. The thing is that everything in upgrading the villa gives you a benefit. You get more money, but you're going to buy armor and weapons anyway, so you'll also probably have enough to buy every painting as well. The codex pages are needed for the story, but every 4 pages you give to Leonardo increases your health. And besides, our mother isn't talking, she's in mourning, and the feathers might actually help, so if anything, I don't know, do it for your mom. Alright, real talk though, get closer. I hated this. You want to know what the rewards are for the feathers? After collecting 50 feathers, your reward is a weapon that you get from Mario. That's cool, right? A new weapon. I wonder what I'll get at 100. After 100 feathers, your mother talks again, and she gives you the Cape of House Auditory. Going through the story, you will unlock capes that keep your notoriety at 0, but they only affect you in certain areas, not every region of the game. So grabbing the House Auditory cape might mean that your notoriety will remain at 0 everywhere. Wearing the cape makes you notorious, and you cannot decrease it in every region. Thanks, Mom. You might as well tell me that you just hate me. There aren't even any Steam achievements, when previously wearing the cape in each region would grant you an achievement. You don't even have that here. So collecting 100 feathers is just the game kicking you in the balls. Good job running around the map collecting 100 tiny feathers. Fuck you. To make matters worse, collecting every bit of equipment gives you a score of 28,990. The collection score is right around 16,010. I don't know who at Ubisoft decided to do this, but I don't like you. The levels in this game are Florence, San Gimignano, Forlì, and Venice, and sorry to everyone who lives in Forlì, but it looks terrible. I'm not too fond of the Forlì and San Gimignano levels, partly because they take place outside of the town's walls, and there's not a lot of places to parkour about. You would have to travel around on horseback to get from one area to another rather quickly, though you only stay here for as long as you let yourself, as the main missions don't take a lot of time, but it just feels draining having to run around open fields back and forth, especially if you decide to take on the side content. Florence and Venice, on the other hand, are rather well designed for parkour, and with Ezio's faster climbing speed, we can run around the whole place pretty quickly. We're also given a new obstacle to use, which are these hanging pots which Ezio can grab on and turn hard corners while running. I have a lot of memories running around Venice, and it's good to see it's just as I remembered, even if it decides to not load and the whole city decides to paint itself pink. This might also just be me, but there are still a few awkward moments with the parkour that can cause a few issues. In particular, moments where I leap off to reach for something and Ezio just lazily glides down to the left like some wind just picked him up and decided to take him away. This did happen rather rarely, and it only occurred when I played for longer periods of time, so it might just be my brain looking at things and thinking, yeah, that's kinda weird. The story takes place over the course of 23 years. We start off with Ezio at 17 years old, and he ends up in his 40s. It's very impressive, and we get to see a lot of growth from Ezio, and it also shows that he's been learning his whole life, but it's hard to kind of keep track of the years when it's not as drastic of a jump. The time period for when you kill Uberto to when you kill Vieri is 2 years. 2 years pass, and it's all spent training in Monteregione. This did make me wonder, how long was Altair's story? 2 months. The hunt for the 9 took 2 whole months of riding back and forth from Syria to Palestine on horseback. According to Google Maps, it takes 102 hours to walk from Mesiev to Jerusalem. That's 4.5 days. That means it took him 9 days to go back and forth, roughly, and that's just Jerusalem. 27 days going back and forth between Jerusalem, almost a whole ass month, and his hunt for the 9 took 2 months? Doing the math, this would mean that Altair got no rest during this task, as he constantly had to be on the move, and it's absolutely insane to me that that's the case. During Ezio's quest for revenge, he ends up meeting an array of people, and this leads to the revelation that each and every one of them are assassins training him to one day be inducted into the Brotherhood. This happens after a fight against Rodrigo Borgia, where we beat his ass and take a piece of Eden. And who else would induct us into the Brotherhoods than Niccolo Machiavelli? And this is really goddamn funny to me. If you don't know much about Machiavelli, he's known as the father of political science and political philosophy, and he's also known for writing a book called The Prince, which is sort of a how to be a good monarch guide. If by good monarch you mean a tyrant, people like to use the term Machiavellian to describe somebody who is all about political deceit and deception. It's not really a good thing, and this guy's an assassin. So like, are we the good guys? Are we the baddies? What are we? Regardless of our D&D alignment, we formally join the Assassins and we get given 2 more memories, and these are the Battle of Forley DLC and the Bonfire of the Vanities DLC. I don't like them. They're not fun. They couldn't get these into the game originally because of time constraints, so I have to ask, why? If you're gonna take longer to work on these, then maybe take longer. It's probably rough though, as they had to go on annual releases after this point, but these have just not been fun at all, and it felt like these dragged the game on for a lot longer. It adds a small amount of story, but if you missed out on these, then you didn't really miss much. The Bonfire of the Vanities adds a southern part of Florence, and it's relatively small compared to the rest of the area. It does add a new parkour item, which are these flagpoles that Ezio could bounce off of. The worst part was this one mission where I had to assassinate someone on a ship surrounded by guards and not be seen by them. It took me tens of tries before I got it, and the whole time I was so confused on how to go about this. I don't like this DLC. It's now included in the base game when you purchase it. I wish I could just ignore this and get rid of it. Remember to make sure that you have all the assassin seals for the armor and that you also have all the codex pages as well. The codex pages are found about the world, but the assassin seals are found in these tombs, and these are some of the best levels in the game. The assassin tombs are stealth and parkour missions that really showcase how well the parkour is, with a fun little obstacle course and some simple puzzles. They're not too long, and they're a fun challenge, and you just feel really badass doing it.
Bene. Now I have a way back up in case I fall.
So what's the purpose of the codex pages? They contain a puzzle that, when solved, gives you a map of the world. We're looking for a vault, one that Rodrigo is looking for, and we find out that this vault is located right beneath the Vatican, and Rodrigo himself has just become Pope.
Meanwhile,
so now we gotta get there to stop Rodrigo from entering the vault, and we get to pick a fight with the Pope himself. We meet Rodrigo, and we enter a fight against him using the Apple of Eden that we got back in Venice. This fight is kind of... But the real good part comes when we enter beneath the chapel and we come to the final battle, a fist fight with the Pope.
What do you even want with the vault, Rodrigo?
Don't you know what lies within? Or do you mean to tell me the great and powerful assassins didn't figure it out?
Figure what out?
God. It's God that dwells within.
What game just lets you fist fight the Pope? Imagine describing to someone this scene when they have no idea what to expect in the game, and you just say, yeah, you just fist fight the Pope. What? You fight the Pope? With your bare fists and he punches back? Honestly, this is truly the highlight of the game. I can forgive everything else now. 10 out of 10. So we beat his ass. Again. And we enter the vault and get given some more story, and that all this was one big elaborate message for Desmond. We meet with Minerva, who tells us of those who came before, these ancient science fiction beings who had advanced technology. They worked to prevent a disaster that collapsed civilization and nearly brought the humans to extinction. Minerva then tells us of a second upcoming disaster, and we have to work to prevent it. Ezio learns of Desmond's existence, which is probably fucking with his mind right now, but what's actually been happening with Desmond? Back in the modern day, Desmond is able to learn and retain skills from Ezio through the bleeding effect, and we put it to use first by parkouring around the hideout and enabling our security system. About halfway through the game, we get told by Lucy that we specifically wanted Ezio because Abstergo had an interest in Ezio's life due to what he found. So it wasn't so much that Ezio learned everything from the beginning, but rather because of his life. We also get told that prolonged exposure to the Animus could cause some issues, but I'm sure we're fine. I mean, Desmond did get to see his ancestors just bang in a haystack atop a tower, but he's not the first person to have walked on his parents. He should just get over it. The story ends after we breach the vault as Ezio and we find that Abstergo has found our location. We fight them off, and maybe I got a bit too eager to go after Vidic, when I apparently was meant to help Lucy. Vidic manages to get away, but we have to go to another hideout. We can't really stay here now that the Templars know where we are, so we're put back into the Animus and we run around as Ezio until the next game. One issue with this game is the inability to replay missions. If you wanted to play through a certain portion of the game, you'd have to restart from the beginning and make your way through the game again just for that one part. This is terrible for a few reasons. Maybe you liked a certain section and you wanted to go through it again. Maybe you wanted to watch the cutscenes. Maybe you wanted to play something again and again because it's just your favorite part, you know, just some people like to do that. The second reason is specifically for me because while noticing these videos as I'm editing them, some of them are just really bad and I only could get one take. I mean, look at this. What the hell is going on here? Can't re-record that. Sucks to suck, I guess. What is replayable though are these little glyphs that you can find on these buildings, which are artifacts left behind from the previous person Abstergo has captured. Subject 16. This provides more world building and gives us some history on the Templar and Assassin conflict and shows us how the pieces of Eden have moved from one hand to another, from one major historical figure to another major historical figure. We also get these odd clips of two people running about, and if we want to understand this, we have to find all of the glyphs. The video has two people running from a facility, performing parkour similar to the Assassins. The place looks pretty futuristic, and we learn that these two are Adam and Eve and they have an apple of Eden. Whoa, biblical references, who would have guessed? At this time, this was a lot of speculation and interpretation of the footage, but this is Adam and Eve and the facility they're escaping from is one run by the Isu, who are the same as Minerva who we saw before. It shows that humans were enslaved under the Isu and Adam and Eve worked to free them using these devices. So Adam and Eve escaped from Eden with the apple and their legacy continues with Cain and Abel, and Cain kills Abel to take the apple and would later be the mythical founder of the Templars. That was a major lore drop. I know, it can get confusing. Oh boy, it's about to get even more confusing later on. But that was Assassin's Creed 2. It was pretty fun. Sure, it had some jank here and there and it does show its age, but it was a fun playthrough. And after this game, we received Brotherhood, and I personally consider that to be the best of the series, but does that opinion still hold today? First of all, what's even the reason as to why Ezio received 3 games in the first place? That's 2 more than any other assassin in the franchise, and partly why Ezio might be one of the more popular and well-loved protagonists in the series. You might argue that because Ezio is a popular character, it would be a safe bet to give him some more games, but I feel this is probably the weakest argument as later protagonists only ever receive 1 mainline game even if they would be more popular than Ezio. After reading online, I have some speculation as to why Ezio received more mainline games as opposed to the other assassins, and it all involves Ubisoft deciding that the game had to be an annual release from this point onwards. Brotherhood was planned partly due to reading that the development team always wanted to include Rome, but because of time constraints and the fact that they believed that they had enough content for Rome, decided to only allow us to infiltrate the Vatican and have us explore Rome in Brotherhood. So that can explain Brotherhood, but what about Revelations? Revelations could be seen as a filler game. They needed a game to be released a year after Brotherhood, and the fact that Assassin's Creed 3 uses a different engine than the Ezio games, they may have needed more time to develop the engine which allowed Revelations to be worked on. Revelations was also initially going to be a 3DS game called Lost Legacy. Nintendo announced this game back at E3 of 2010, but this was then cancelled and the game we got from it was Assassin's Creed Revelations. Series creator Patrice Désilets has also left Ubisoft prior to the E3 reveal of Brotherhood, and Patrice Désilets' original plan for the series was to have it be a trilogy, but now that he's left, and given the new release dates for the Assassin's Creed series, they would have needed more time to space out Assassin's Creed 3 3 and Brotherhood, and thus brought about Revelations. Again, this is all speculation on my part. I don't know what the proper answer is, but I highly doubt the fact that Ezio's popularity allowed him to get more games is the reason why we have more mainline Ezio games than, say, mainline Edward Kenway games or mainline Altair games. And now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about Brotherhood proper. Desmond and our assassin companions arrive at Monteriggioni and they set up their base in the ruins of the Villa Auditori. After restoring power to the place, we set up the Animus and continue experiencing Ezio's memories. We want to find Ezio's apple to prevent the upcoming disaster that Minerva has told us about. We found some cryptic clues, but nothing that really helps us immediately. Unlike the previous game, you can wander about as Desmond more and you'd be able to talk with everyone. I didn't really do this. I'm sure there's some more story and there's some emails that you can read, but I did get you this clip.
Hey, what's the matter you, Altair?
That's racist.
You're racist.
Really? This is what you guys are doing?
Oh no, God forbid I take a break. I've only spent the past 3 fucking weeks inside that machine.
No, you're right. Let's all just screw around while the world falls to pieces.
Alright, cool. Moving on. Brotherhood is a continuation of Ezio's story right after you beat up the Pope. It starts with you escaping from the Vatican with Mario and returning to Monteriggioni. You run through a few errands that act as the game's tutorial, and then you meet up with your allies and inform them of what happened. Machiavelli is mad at us for not killing the Pope, but honestly, if he wanted the Pope dead, then he should have just done it himself. After bathing and spending a night with Caterina, which, yeah, I guess this is going on, we get a rude awakening as Monteriggioni is being besieged by papal forces. Now, I'm not Catholic, but I would expect that if you beat up the Pope, he would at most just excommunicate you. I would not even consider the fact that the Pope might send his goddamn army to your town and destroy not just your home, but also your town. After struggling for a while trying to deal with these cannons, we meet our new antagonist, Cesare Borgia. He kills Mario and shows us that he now has the apple. Now we can't really do much here, so we have to run, and we enter through the sanctum where the armor of Altair was and escape from there with the rest of the survivors. Ezio directs his family to run to Florence while we make our way over to Rome, and so our adventure begins. Brotherhood is an improvement over Assassin's Creed 2. It keeps the same parkour system but adds a quick new way to get to the rooftops via the lift. The combat is also improved with a kill streak where you can keep executing enemies as long as you don't get hit. We also have new moves where Ezio can double execute somebody using his hidden blade and his pistol. This is the best the combat has felt for me in the series thus far, and I also appreciate that Ezio hasn't lost his abilities and we have to relearn them. We also get to use a variety of weapons, including a crossbow, which is really useful and a lot more silent than your pistol, and you also get the ability to use heavy weapons, and throwing heavy weapons instantly kills someone. Such a good addition. We have 3 main goals in Brotherhood. Ezio has to get the apple again, while also putting a stop to the Borgias, and he has to liberate Rome from their control. The game only takes place in Rome, with a few missions sending you to other areas, though only briefly. Rome is half city, half open field, sort of like how San Gimignano or Forlì is, with Roman ruins and small villages about. Rome has felt a lot more fun to traverse than Florence or Venice, and the open areas are a lot more manageable to me than Tuscany or Forlì. You're also able to travel around the city on horseback, and you can access a fast travel system using the sewer system of Rome. The main selling point of Brotherhood is that you get to rebuild the Italian Brotherhood. The trailer shows Ezio walking through crowds and guards that get cut down by unseen characters. As Ezio approaches Cesare, he's joined by other assassins by his side, and this was such a hype moment back then, and it still is today. I still get chills whenever I watch this trailer. To liberate Rome, you have to commit arson and burn down the Borgia Towers, which I have nothing against. And as you do this, you get control of Rome again. This allows you to purchase shops on the city, but this also allows you to rescue civilians and recruit them to the Brotherhood. With your recruits, you can use them to join you in battle or to assassinate enemies while at a distance. And if you have enough, you could call down a storm of arrows to instantly eliminate enemy guards. One of the best features of this game, it's so much fun to use and it's so useful. If I had this during the Bonfire of the Vanities DLC, I would not be complaining at all. Apart from our main goal of stopping the Borgias, the story in this game is kind of odd, at least mostly with the B-plot. After the siege on Monteriggioni, Ezio learns that Machiavelli was entirely unaware of what happened there, and when Machiavelli was planning his whole assassination of the Borgias, he just had no idea that Cesare Borgia took the apple. La Volpe, who is now in Rome, tells us that Machiavelli is suspicious and he suspects him of betraying us. Yet the entire way through, I didn't really suspect much of Machiavelli, and Ezio's all like, La Volpe, you can't just be throwing around accusations like that. I also don't know why Ezio was so against his sister the entire time, though I was told that he was just being very overprotective of her. He was very against her stepping up to run the brothel, and probably didn't want his sister to get involved in working at a brothel or to be involved with the assassins. But it's fine, this all got resolved when Ezio finds out that she killed 3 men.
What?
My sister knows how to wield a knife.
And I am ready to do it again.
Spoken like a true auditore.
The Machiavelli is a traitor plot point honestly feels like someone in the writer's room finally got around to reading The Prince and came by and said, "Hey, you read this book by Machiavelli? I think we can do something with this." And they did reference a book being written about Ezio by Machiavelli, but do people even understand The Prince? Which is also funny because The Prince is written in response to Cesare Borgia. A lot of these plot points about the assassins feel like such moot points in the grand scheme of things that get resolved too quickly and too easily, so I don't know. They are just there and I don't really know what to think about them. Da Vinci is back and he performs the same role as last time where he invents items for Ezio, but we don't have to collect codex pages for him this time. Instead, we have to destroy war machines he's built for the Borgias, which leads to another requirement for full synchronization with Ezio. These missions are alright, they're infiltration missions and you do get to use the war machines. The bomber is a bit broken though if you don't cap your frame rates. Da Vinci also gives us a parachute, however I didn't really use it when it would have been particularly useful, so that's entirely on me, but I did notice a bug later and not sure what's causing it, but I keep losing all my parachutes, which is kind of odd, so I guess if I'm not using them, the game's just gonna take them away from me. Kind of wish we had a bit more involving him apart from just this, but we can't really have everything now, can we? This is the last game where we'll see Da Vinci, so say your goodbyes to him, but we do get one bit of DLC which ties a bit into a later game, and we get to save Da Vinci there, but more on that later.
Ezio, come here.
Oh sure, put the reference in after you kill off Mario. One thing I enjoyed about Assassin's Creed 2 are the assassin tombs. Those levels really helped showcase the parkour, and it was a fun little bit of side content that we can run that's well suited for the game's parkour system, and we also get a nice little reward at the end. In Brotherhood, we have something similar. We have the Lairs of Romulus, which serve a similar purpose. We parkour about and fight off Roman pagans, and at the end we get given a scroll, and getting 6 of these scrolls unlocks our endgame armor, the Armor of Brutus, which also gives us a fancy dagger. Unlike the Armor of Altair, this isn't required to complete the game, but it's there for you to grab. A weak point of the game for me though is the ending. One issue I have is when the series decides to just skip over years of work and conflict and we just see what is essentially the culmination of it all. It feels rushed to me when the whole game is a smooth process over time, and I understand having to wrap it up as well as end it on the year when the historical characters have died, but I feel something could have been done differently here. What can I say, you can't really top fisting the Pope. And also, using the apple just kind of sucks. It has a long charge time and also it drains your health, so you gotta use up more health in order for it to be more powerful. So at this point, why even bother using it? Oh yeah, that's why, because you can't swap it out. Pretty much everything happens because of Cesare Borgia. He's the one who led the attack on Monteriggioni, not Rodrigo. And we find out that Cesare is now reaping what he's sown. Rodrigo Borgia has died in 1503, and the ending of the game skips ahead years as we fight Cesare Borgia, who then dies in 1507 in Spain. I will say though, while I'm not really a fan of this ending, the sound design is really well done. The orchestration and composition of the backing music really helps elevate the feel of the experience. It really shows what good sound design can do to help boost a game.
An auditore will never best me. Roma Italia, España, they will all be mine.
Back in the modern day, Desmond and the others manage to locate the coordinates of Ezio's apple as they head to the Colosseum because, surprise surprise, there's a temple under there. Turns out those numbers at the beginning actually ended up meaning something. Who would have thought? We make our way through this parkour jungle where Desmond shows a lot of skill in jumping about, and we end up finding the apple after a little puzzle because why not? We meet with Juno, another Isu like Minerva, but she seems more angry? I don't really think she likes us, and as we approach the apple, time seems to freeze around us and we are forced to walk towards Lucy, and we perform a little oopsie as we stab her with our hidden blades. We fall unconscious and Lucy bleeds out. The credits roll and Desmond is placed back into the Animus, and we get another game. But before we end off Brotherhoods, there's something else we need to talk about first. So, guess what happened before Ezio fought Cesare? Before Ezio went off against Cesare Borgia, he went back to visit Da Vinci when he got kidnapped by a secret society, the Hermeticists. The DLC is kind of I mean, I liked it. It's definitely better than the previous DLCs, but that's not really a high bar. Da Vinci gets kidnapped, and we learn from his assistant and roommate, Salai, that Da Vinci had discovered a hidden temple and he left clues in his paintings, and we have to get these paintings back. These are all pretty short, not too long, and they can be done relatively quickly. The levels are kinda neat. Nothing really stood out to me though. I did like parkouring around Lucrezia's new manor though. I think that might have been my favorite mission out of all of them, but I also really did like going to actually rescue Leonardo. The ending is kinda cryptic at the moment, but it's something for a later game. It ends up being another message for Desmond, and because Ezio has dealt with this before, he recognizes that this is not for him, nor is it for Da Vinci. The DLC ends with Ezio leading Da Vinci out of the temple and asking him questions on what he's working on now, a nice little end to this bit of DLC. With the release of Brotherhood, they also advertised a new multiplayer mode, and this was actually a really fun game mode, and it's really sad that the servers are now down forever. The whole thing is set up as an Abstergo training program for Templars, and we get to walk around the level and we have to assassinate one another. Ubisoft, hear me out, please. If any of you are watching this, I have a suggestion. If you ever want to make a Battle Royale game, then take your Brotherhood multiplayer system and adjust it to fit a Battle Royale. You had such a good thing going on here, and I'm a bit sad I can't get to experience it again. Now, one negative that I have about this game is the 100% sync challenges. I know why they're there, it's a neat little challenge, but all it does is trigger something within me that wants to get it done perfectly, and I will replay levels as much as I can just to get it right. If you complete 100% sync on enough levels, you get to unlock another kind of content called the Christina Memories, where it tells us what happened to Ezio's love interest from his younger years, and it's a nice bit of storytelling for people who want to know exactly what happened, especially since it was never addressed in Assassin's Creed 2, but it's another thing I'm just perfectly fine missing out on. I will say though, it provides you a way to play the game and makes things a bit more interesting compared to Assassin's Creed 2, which did not have any kind of 100% sync challenges. A slight positive though, unrelated to these memories, is that after you renovate all of Rome, you get the auditory cape, and that shit cape from the last game is back, but now it prevents you from gaining notoriety, so finally a decent rewards. Replaying Brotherhood reminded me why I thought this was the peak of the series, and I still kind of do. I had a lot of fun playing this, I had a lot of nostalgia running around Rome, I enjoyed leveling up my apprentices, and I liked going through the ceremony each time. I found a lot of use for everything here, and I just really had a lot of fun playing this game. Easily the very best the game has been in the series at the time, and hopefully they learned from this on what works and what doesn't, and the next game would be just as good. Revelations is a game you're either going to like or hate, and I feel that there's no in between on this. I thought everyone hated this, but then I found out that some people actually liked it, and that got me to wonder if I've been looking at this game all wrong. So I've come by with an open perspective on this, and I want to know if this game was ever really good or bad. If you're looking at the time comparing how much I talk about this game compared to the others, you'd notice it's relatively shorter. And that's because what can I really say about this game I haven't said about the previous ones? Each game builds upon each other and takes what's good from one and moves it to the other while adding a few new stuff. And at this point, I just want to get this trilogy over with and move on to the next. So let's explore the final chapter in the Ezio games, Assassin's Creed Revelations. I thought I would dislike replaying this game. I played this before and finished it just so I could say that I got it done with and can move on to Assassin's Creed 3 when that was eventually released. And I thought this was the weakest one in the series, until I replayed it for this video, and honestly, this isn't that bad of a game. Ezio is an old man in this one, and his goals and motivations are different from the previous games. Let's talk about the things I didn't like first, just to get that out of the way, because I at least want to try and end on a positive note. I'm not completely sold on Constantinople's level design. There are things about it that I like, but the whole place just feels very dry and unappealing. It might be the color coding for the place, but when I walk around through areas of the Holy Land and enjoy those a lot more, when those have similarities to Constantinople's design, I can safely say that I just do not like the area we're in now. It's fun to traverse, but it's the vibes, man. I don't know, it just feels similar, but it's also different, and I don't really think that I like this as much. I'm also not a fan of the den defense gameplay. I'm playing a stealth game, not a tower defense game. Thankfully, you can avoid this minigame by keeping your notoriety low. However, it takes a lot longer to get it lower as there's no longer any wanted posters, so now I have to go around and bribe people. Back then, I also didn't really enjoy the story as much as I felt I wasn't as involved with the whole Assassin-Templar conflict and was just doing what I felt was the bare minimum. I knew very little about Yusuf, and I kind of wanted to know more about him in this game. This, however, has changed for me given the fact I have developed media literacy and can now understand why the writing is as it is. Some would argue though that the story is rather bland and not as inspired, and Ezio does a few questionable things here and there, and part of it is due to the fact that Corey May, the writer for the previous games, didn't work on this one and it was instead written by Darby McDevitt. And I've seen some opinions about that, but hopefully in this video I can try to explain why I feel that the writing isn't really all that bad. The story this time is Ezio is an old man. He's now in his 50s or something and maybe going just a tad bit senile. Okay, everything's normal, just assassinate the guy. Let's just climb up here. You know, just following Altair, just following his ghost. Okay, we made it up here and oh, okay, what's going on here? Oh no. Okay, kind of weird. Let's just keep going up. All right, same path, same path. Climbing up, and then what the hell? Huh. Okay, odd. Weird. Alright. Well, I mean, what, maybe it's just oh, okay. Alright. Let's keep going. Climbing up again, climbing up again. Now what if I just step to the side and oh no, there he goes, all the way to the bottom. You know, maybe it's because I have the hidden blade out. You know, that might be it. Oh well, let's try climbing up again. Let's make it to the top. Let's see what happens. Sword's out. Okay, no, I'm just jumping down and... Huh. Okay. You know what? Let's try one last thing. Let's go all the way to the side. Alright, okay. Cool, I guess. Do I dare? No, let's not. Let's just leave. Ezio has fought Templars his whole life and now just seeks knowledge. He travels to Messiev to find the library that Altair has left behind for wisdom, but has found it locked. The Templars in the region are also seeking to open the door and are searching for keys left by Altair, which Ezio now has to find. That's it. That's the main motive of the story. While landing in Constantinople, we get to meet the leader of the Ottoman assassins and are given a base to work from. We get told that the assassins finally have a strong presence in the region, and the guards also attack the Templars when they see them.
Everything's coming up!
Ezio!
Ezio, being the mentor of the Italian Brotherhood, felt an obligation to help the assassins here, but his task of getting the Messiev keys was the main priority. And that's part of the reason we may not feel as involved with the Brotherhood here as we did in the previous games, and it's because it's just not our fight. It's not our issue, and we are not involving ourselves in it. The goal here is to find the Messiah keys, and when I began to recognize that and to place myself into Ezio's shoes and understand his motives, did I begin to enjoy this game a lot more. I didn't care about fixing up Constantinople, nor did I feel the urge to keep training these assassins. I'm sure if I did, then I would feel like I'm just dragging things on, when in Brotherhood, I wanted to do all these things. Over here, you just feel so disconnected from the Ottoman Brotherhood, and I feel that this is more deliberate. Ezio also gains a new love interest, Sophia Sartor, who I believe is just a certified DILF hunter. A few moments with Ezio, and she's thinking on how to get it on with this old man.
You're beginning to interest me, vaguely.
Parkour in this game is similar to the previous games, but we're given a new toy to play with, the hook blade, and this is an amazing piece of equipment because it makes climbing much faster and allows us to now long jump to extend our grab, and we can now zip line across lines to get around faster, and fucking hell, this is just amazing. I may not be too big on the level design, but traveling through the city is pretty fun with the hook blade. Kinda wish this came back in later games, but oh well. Like Da Vinci, we can't have good things all the time. I don't know if I even have much to say about this game that I didn't say for the others. Everything is a continuation of the previous game, and Revelations doesn't seek to try and improve upon or fix any of the issues that may have been present in Brotherhood. We got the hook blade, but Revelations just felt like a slightly worse Brotherhood. I did end up enjoying the story, and in particular, through this game, was reminded why Altair is my favorite assassin. Oh right, I have to talk about Altair. As we get the Messiah keys, we begin to glimpse into Altair's story after his fight against El Muallim, and this reminds me why I really like Altair. I want to offer a slight correction to my previous Assassin's Creed video. Altair does receive some more character developments than I stated, and one example I failed to mention is him not killing Maria. At the start of the game, he was rather arrogant and would kill innocents, and at the end, when he found Robert's decoy, he elected to not kill her given that she was innocent and not his target. If we had earlier Altair that moment, he would have just outright killed Maria. Through Revelations, we get to see Altair more wise, though we also get to see him more human. He has a different voice actor, to which I don't really mind. He is given his Middle Eastern accent here, which I kind of enjoy, and it has more personality than the direction that Philip Shabazz was given when he played the role of Altair. We were also shown here why Altair was important to the Brotherhoods. The decision to remain in the shadows and not have a public presence like in the first game was Altair's. Everything from this point on was because of him and his leadership, and for lack of more poetic terms, I think that's just really cool. Really poggers, or something. Altair spent time in exile from the Brotherhood and studied the apple. He could have studied anything about the worlds in there, and he saw a gun and said, "Oh man, well, that's cool as hell. I wonder if I can make something like that."
Tell your men to stand down.
No! I am defending Mashaf. Would you not do the same?
You corrupted everything we stand for and lost everything we gained. All of it sacrificed on the altar of your own spite.
And you! You have wasted your life staring into that apple, dreaming of your own glory.
That is true, Abbas. I learned many things from the apple. Of life and death, of the past and the future. Let me show you.
There was meant to be a bang there. Ezio's outfit is also inspired in design by Altair's outfit, so I think that's also a cool nod. I figured I'd have more to say about this, but I don't. Honestly, this game is better than I remember, and focusing on what matters for it makes it better. The optional objectives in this game for 100% sync are somewhat challenging. I opted not to go for them because I just want to get through it, but damn, like some of these are actually kind of tough to pull off. Desmond, however, is not having a good time as his mind is breaking apart due to the prolonged exposure to the Animus, as well as what Juno has done to him at the end of the previous game. We finally get to meet Subject 16. His name is Clay. He's now an AI and explains to us that to fix our mind, we have to finish everything regarding Ezio and Altair to end those memories and separate from them. We also get to these gates here that have more backstory on Desmond and even DLC called The Lost Archives, which gives more lore on Clay and even Lucy, which reveals to us that Lucy defected to the Templars, so us killing her was not much of an issue. I'm only quickly going through these because they're only first-person platform puzzle levels, and I don't think that's good for this game. It closes the game and opens up another executable for these, and I think that's just kind of weird. The Lost Archives also costs money, and it's the same thing as the Desmond journey, and I think that just kind of sucks. Ezio has done some questionable things in this game, two of which are the riots in the streets and the gunpowder explosion in Cappadocia, and people would wonder why. You could say that Darby McDevitt's writing wasn't the best, and Corey May would not have had Ezio do these things, but I think it's rather interesting to have Ezio do these, especially given his journey. He's lived by the creed for so long and to the letter that he is beginning to get a bit disillusioned by it. He's wondering how far does it even go, and his explanation of it to Sophia helps show his view of the creed. It's not doctrine and he has to live with his actions. How far do you take the line, everything is permitted? Is it permitted to start a riot in the streets even if people will die? Is it permitted to cause an explosion even if that destroys the area? The years have taken a toll on this man, and how we would view it versus how he might view it are very different, and I think that this is some interesting part of Ezio's development. At the end, when Ezio enters the library that Altair has, he finds nothing in there apart from Altair's body. He also finds Altair's apple. Ezio talks directly to Desmond as he lays down his hidden blades and his sword, symbolizing his retirement from the Brotherhood. He passes whatever words he has to Desmond and leaves Altair's apple in its place. At the end, he leaves and spends the rest of his life with Sophia back in Italy, and that's the end of Ezio's story in the games. The game closes a chapter in the series, one that spanned over 3 years. Desmond wakes up from the Animus Island and rejoins the others along with his father, and we get given another cliffhanger. Like I said in the beginning, Revelations is one where you're either going to like it or really dislike it. Do you find any charm in this game or not? Do you enjoy the side content? Do you enjoy Constantinople? Are you even a fan of tower defense games? These are all things you'd have to ask to see if you'd enjoy this game, and I feel like I can't really give a proper rating on it myself that'll be useful to someone other than me. Would I replay this? Probably not, but I do have a higher opinion of Revelations than I did going into this, and I think that's a lot better than giving this a rating out of 10. We saw the day of Ezio's birth all the way to his old age. We had a chronicle of his life, and it's very easy to see why he's probably everyone's favorite assassin. For 3 years, we had him as a main character, and they even went back to remaster the game and even had it ported onto the Switch. The first of the trilogy sold 9 million copies in the first 6 months of release, compared to the first game in the series, which was revealed to have sold 8 million copies by 2009, 2 years after release. And more people know of Assassin's Creed thanks to the Ezio games, which brought it to mainstream popularity. The Ezio trilogy is well worth a replay, and it came from a time where you feel that Ubisoft cared more for their games. The next time we visit the series, we'll be going to Assassin's Creed 3, where we'll have a whole new chapter and a whole new assassin. I don't really know how to end this video, so I'm just going to say that as of making this, the channel went past the 50 subscriber count, which is kind of wild to me. I mean, have you ever seen 50 people in a room together? That's actually a lot of people. So I want to say thank you for watching this. Thank you for watching my videos, and I'll be back later with another video, and remember that I appreciate you.
The wisdom of our creed is revealed through these words. We work in the dark to serve the light. We are assassins. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.